Kia ora, Haya Khan.
Kia ora.
Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day to you too, Petra.
Now, I'm really excited to talk with you because you're a recent addition to Parnell and you have also lived a life. You've got an arts degree from the University of Auckland. You were admitted to the bar as a lawyer. You're a creative person. You started a business called Masala Scents. This brought you, I think, to Parnell to start Masala Bazaar, and you've gone on to start Masala Studio to support South Asian women and your community in business. Can you tell me a bit about what led you to Parnell and to the business that you opened?
Thank you for such a lovely introduction, and I would love to talk more about that, especially on International Women's Day, especially because one of the reasons why I came to Parnell is because all the time while I was in uni, I loved being in Parnell. I always felt it had a creative flair. It brought the most authentic side of me out, especially when we just walk up after classes to Chocolate Boutique, or the kind of environment that's been fostered as a result of the businesses and the community that's within Parnell. And when it came to deciding a permanent location for what we're doing, I felt like Parnell was the perfect place because the residents and the community and the business around would really appreciate what we have to offer when it comes to textiles and crafts and creations and even the people within our community. And that's kind of what brought me to Parnell, because I guess it would understand what you said before about all the layers that are within the business, within myself, and within what we want to create.
What was it like when you started Masala Scents and you're like, where is the home for this? Because masala, my understanding is masala is like a collection of flavors. It's not its own flavor. It's like, many things.
Yes. It is. I think it was really hard, and I've been talking about this recently because 5 years on from when I started Masala Scents, I've just done a new collection which is very authentic to me, and it encapsulates all the different textiles and arts of Karachi in Pakistan, where I'm from. And so when I started and I was looking for a home, I realized there is no specific one place because the brand itself encapsulates the multifaceted experience of being a Kiwi but being South Asian at the same time. So really it is everywhere that it's home, which is why the fragrances themselves, every little bit that we curate, the reasons people say we love being in store and just having a browse is because we made it quite authentic. And so that's, again, coming back to what I said before, is when I went to find a home, I realized there is no one specific place. But the best place for it would be where creativity is appreciated and people have a creative mindset and they really appreciate being in a space that you can think outside the box.
And what was the reception when you brought Masala Bazaar to Parnell? And it is, like you say, it's South Asian, it's Pakistan, it's New Zealand, it's all wrapped up. What was the response?
People loved it. I remember we hadn't even finished opening yet. We were just setting up and people were just dying to come in. They were wanting to have a browse. I still remember our very first customer was a lovely Brazilian tourist. And I'll be perfectly honest, I knew there was a tourism industry in Parnell. I just didn't realize the extent of it, which is what made me so happy. And the entire community of Parnell really came together to support us. And that was something I didn't anticipate at all, because in the past, when I've grown my businesses, it has been kind of lonely in a way, which is why I created Masala Bazaar, so that we can come together and to then have Masala Bazaar be in a place like Parnell where the community comes together and supports you and everyone's checking in on you and supporting you and sharing you and realizing that you have so much to offer and amplifying your voice. It was really, really wholesome.
So this is actually what you seek to do, right?
Pretty much.
Because doing something on your own is too hard. And as women, I think we know how to support one another. And yet Masala Bazaar was you supporting other South Asian women. And it sounds like there's a reciprocity to that. It's reciprocal.
Absolutely. And I think with that is the concept of it all together is back home where I grew up. I have obviously my grandparents, then I have what I guess you could say God grandparents. They're just family friends who are basically family, and I grew up in their shops and they would sell bangles. And I remember growing up and sitting at the back and having tea with my grandpa and just seeing how he dealt with business and seeing all the friendliness of the shopkeepers around. If you didn't have a specific product, it's not that you would hold back and not send the customer to the other vendor. Everyone knew each other. They were more than happy to share around the business because there's enough money to go around. There was no sort of animosity or individualistic thinking. It was very communal. And that's what I always felt business was, even though I learned it at a very, very young age from him, and I didn't continue to see it every day. And that's the ethos of our company, that everyone always says, we've got 2 candle brands, we've got 2 clothing brands, but everyone gels together. We have respect for one another. I'm there every day, even though I've got a candle brand, I'm advocating for every single one of the brands in store, and that's the spirit of what we bring in here, and that's what I felt the business association has also brought to us.
So has Parnell like risen to the
Yeah,
occasion, or
absolutely.
have you
It's
just fitted into it?
Absolutely. Just like that. It felt really amazing to have values align, not knowing going into it that your values would align so well.
So when people walk into your store, what's the experience?
The experience is that we always try to let them browse first because I know they're probably overwhelmed, but the experience is that we always end up having a lovely conversation with them. More often than not, they have some experience in their life that ties them back to why they're loving the store so much, whether that's family, travels, education, or just an appreciation for the culture. Or sometimes people just really love textiles and they're feeling the fabrics and they're getting excited and they're wanting to know more, or sometimes they just want to have a chat to us as the creators. We had a lovely chat with a lady the other day who works at a restaurant nearby, and she said this is where she comes to de-stress when like it's a busy day in the hospo. Like she just comes to hang out and de-stress and have a chat, and that's exactly what we wanted, because again, that's what I grew up with, you know. That's where the shopkeepers become your family, and you know you can go to one person for not just what the product you're buying, but also for a sense of community. So I'm really glad that that's the experience we're giving.
I'm so stoked that you're finding a sense of community as well as creating a sense of community in Parnell. So where might you go to de-stress? Like what are your secret Parnell places?
I love going to the Parnell Rose Gardens, especially just grabbing coffee from the Lux Rose Cafe. When my family were here, that was like one of the first places I took them to.
Okay.
I love just taking up a walk to just up Parnell Road and Parnell Rise and popping into Passion for Paper. I love stationery, and I love how beautiful the scent is as soon as you walk into there. And I don't know if many people know about the hidden little walkways behind Parnell Village. That's one of the best places to go. You just feel like you've been transported to another city, or, you know, grabbing some waffles at Chocolate Boutique. There's so much to do. You really, you know, you can just step away from work anytime.
I think the tourists know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe you need to have a touristic mind as a New Zealander and just go exploring.
Absolutely.
What do you think the future Parnell might look like? What would be your hopes and dreams?
I think the hopes and dreams for Parnell would be for it to attract even more locals, because we've got so many tourists, but we need more locals to come out and explore even during the day and just see what everything has to offer. Obviously, getting a lot more voices out there championing all of the small businesses we have within Parnell, not just Masala Bazaar. Like I mentioned, Passion for Paper. The eateries are all family, you know, locally owned, family owned. So the future I see for Parnell, if I was to sum it up, is championing our businesses and seeing so much more growth, and especially seeing so many more women-led businesses. Parnell Business Association and the businesses within are very, you know, women-driven. So seeing a lot more of that community come together, and I think it's only up from here.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you love about being a woman who is working and living out her dream in Parnell?
I love that there isn't, I'm going to try to use non-Gen Z language here. I love that.
No, go for it. Gen Z.
I love that there is no like, what's it called, the bro and business vibe in Parnell. I felt that in other places, like you always get unsolicited advice from people around you in different areas. And this isn't to say New Zealand, this could be online in different spaces. They see a woman in business and they're kind of surprised that she's doing it herself, or assume that my husband's doing it with me, when actually I go to my husband for advice. He's like, I don't know, you know this. So I like that. I like that it's a very diverse environment from all you know, backgrounds, all genders, everything like that, and everyone just comes together to support you, and no one sort of makes you feel like you know less than anyone else. That, you know, our lovely neighbors, even though they're older than me, men, everything, they pop by to me for advice every now and then, and vice versa. So that's a very, very I think it's a privilege to have in a way, which shouldn't be a privilege. It should be the norm, but given the current state for women in business, I think that is a privilege to have such an awesome community that supports you regardless of your background or your gender or anything like that.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. More the power to you.
Exactly.
I hope that you go
Thank
from
you so
strength
much,
to
Petra.
strength.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the time to speak to me today.